My name is Joe Viglione, of course, and Darren Costa is here, and we have our special guest, Jim Morando. Jim Morando.
Correct.
And
Right,
I went to the Small Business Expo in Boston, and it's an annual pilgrimage. And I met Jim's company there, and he's a fascinating man. And we're going to talk about his life and about the Small Business Expos, and then the company you work with. But he was born in Everett.
Correct.
So, welcome
Just the
back.
other day.
Huh?
Just the other day, yeah.
Welcome back. What'd you think?
Nice to be here. I actually enjoyed being back in here. I was very young when I was here before, but it brings back memories anytime I'm this way. We spent some time in Everett and some time in Chelsea growing up, also Revere. And I remember being that kid at Revere Beach where I wasn't tall enough to get on the bumper cars. That's how small I was, but I remember it well.
My dear friend Bonnie lives in Revere, and I had a birthday May 8th, so she took me to lunch. She goes, I got to take you to Revere. I go, why? You got to see. So parallel to all those condos, they built a second strip of condos.
Really?
And I'm like, because I haven't been over there since COVID, right? And I'm like, what? She had to show me that this whole change on Revere Beach is happening.
Yeah. Doesn't surprise me, right? Everywhere.
Did you live near the beach?
We did, but again, we weren't there very long, and then we kind of migrated. My mother was a single mom, and I was an only child. We kind of struggled a little bit at that age, and then we worked our way back over towards West Roxbury, and that way my grandparents lived in Dedham, and so by 6 years old I was in Dedham, and from there lived in Dedham a lot of my life. Eventually, as I get older, moved out to Walpole, Massachusetts, and now my wife Linda, myself, and my dog, we live down in Sandwich, down in Cape Cod.
What's the dog's name?
Lily.
Lily.
I'll give you a quick story about Lily. Kind of funny. So my mother-in-law, God rest her soul, we would take care of her. She had Alzheimer's, and we had a dog prior to Lily. That was her dog, a small dog named Lily, and that's all she knew. When this dog came home, this dog had a different name, but my mother-in-law couldn't get it because she only remembered Lily, so we converted the name to Lily, so it was a second Lily.
That's funny. What was the original name of Lily?
The new Lily, it was a Barnaby or something. It was a funny name. It was something different, but she couldn't get it. It was Lily is what made sense to her.
Oh, well, that's nice. Pets are so important, and especially the well-being of people. You opened a gym, a fitness.
You get to know a lot about me already. Yes, correct. So I started as an entrepreneur at 27. I'm 61 years old now.
Youngster.
Yeah, thank you.
Looking good.
Thank you. You guys are too kind. I may just stay here longer. So, as I said, my late 20s, I started opening some businesses at a commercial cleaning company. Then I moved more into the fitness world. I was a personal trainer. I used to do a lot of in-home training, and then I had an opportunity through some investment money with people that I worked with to open a fitness center, and that's what I did. That was back in 1999, I think. We ran that for about 16 years. We had a tremendous fitness center just right on the Watertown-Newton line, and had an unbelievable tribe of followers that we worked with for an awful long period of time. It was a wonderful community. We helped lots of people, and over that period of time, I also kind of stumbled into business coaching. People would come to me and say, "How do you have such a successful fitness center?" I said, "Well, I've got a lot of coaching myself." I said, and I've got strong systems, and I said, we've worked at this. We worked really hard. We were fortunate. We were the #1 health and fitness center over there for 13 years in a row once they found us, and it led me again into more business coaching. So a lot of people that wanted to open fitness centers would come, and I just did it because I always try to help as many people as I can. Then I found there was a little niche for it as time went on, and I did more and more business coaching in different sectors of industry. And to this day, that's still part of what I do as well. So it's been an interesting journey, and as we all guys are, well, you're pretty young, Darren. It's all relative, but it's amazing how quick time goes, right? And the relationships you make, and the people you're fortunate enough to help, and the people that help you. And I've been very fortunate as my career and life has gone on.
So you're teaching people about fitness, and there's a parallel with business.
Correct.
That's common, I think. My cousin owned Bantam Cider, which has since closed. They had a tasting room in Union Square, Somerville, and they similarly, if you've done it, you've gone through that pain, that learning process. You spend that whatever it takes to become a pro in something or expert. Bang, you spin off a new business. I love it. I love it.
Very, 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 very good analogy to all of it, because when it comes to being successful, let's talk about fitness. Come to be successful in fitness. I always like to come back to New Year's, and you get so many people that then they're very motivated. It's New Year's, you get New Year's resolutions, and they come in, right? And they're very
Gym
excited.
memberships, we call them in software subscriptions. We can't lose the gym memberships.
Right?
Really?
Right? So you get the huge influx in January of people coming in. They all have the best intentions, and our fitness center was quite different. I had 50 coaches that I had trained, and we were very hands-on. It was very different than just
50
coming in.
is a lot.
Yeah, we had a good-sized place, and it was very different than someone coming in just to use equipment. So we had much more success, but still there'd be a number of people that would come in January, and they really weren't interested in coaching. They wanted to do their thing, and pretty much they'd last to the second week in February every year. It was the same cycle over and over. And as you parallel it to business, if you don't first build the right foundation, and you don't put in the right systems, and you don't understand that every day you have highest priority tasks that you need to get done each day to grow your business, as well as being open to learning and growing, you're probably not going to make it. And the statistics are horrible. You guys know this. The statistics for small business failures, it's terrible, and many times it's geared around really not having the proper structures, which parallels to fitness very well, in the discipline, and also a lot of times undercapitalized when they start, right? So they're chasing their tail from the beginning. So there's a lot of opportunity as a business coach, and what I do as well with the organization Galt, to help small businesses get it right from the beginning, or transition over so they really understand how to run them and be successful. So that's a really nice, that was a nice segue in there, fitness-wise.
How'd you find Galt?
It's interesting. We almost stumbled into each other. So I was doing a lot of consulting myself, and the CEO found me through one of my networks. And this will be very interesting probably for you guys. So when we touched base, he said, listen, I know a little bit about you. I'd like you to be kind of part of what we do here. The way Galt works is we have a fairly large organization that's nationwide, and it's almost like a State Farm insurance, where then umbrellaed underneath it you have your own agency. So I have my own agency, and I handle the New England area. But when I met him, I really wasn't. It was kind of cordial, because he reached out to me, so I talked with him. And what I found out, the flagship of what we do at Galt, we do a lot of things, but the flagship is really about building what we call true business credit. And true business credit is very different. And what happened was I was so enthralled by it, because I consider myself a pretty astute businessman. I've been pretty darn successful. I knew nothing about business credit. I knew I had a D&B number, right, Dun & Bradstreet number, but I didn't really know how to go about it. And I thought true business credit was really for really large organizations. I didn't know that it was really meant for small business. So he started explaining this to me, and the whole concept of it. And I said, that's really interesting. I said, I really wasn't aware of that. I said, but if what you're telling me is real, I said, there's an unbelievable opportunity for small business people to really run their businesses in a manner where they're not so extended personally, and that they have far more capital at their fingertips to be able to run their businesses. Now, true business credit, it doesn't happen overnight. It's not like you go to a lender and all of a sudden they say, hey, here's $100,000 for your business. It's about a 9 to 12 month process that it takes to intentionally build your business credit. But once you do that, you can continue to build it, and it, as I said, it changes the face of most people's businesses, because I think we agree, most of the small business people we talk to, they bootstrapped everything. And I did. That's how I did. I bootstrapped, and I took investment money in my businesses, not knowing that business credit was even available. Once you understand the other concept of true business credit that's tied only to your EIN, right, as long as you're incorporated, you tie it to your EIN, then again, you're no longer sticking your neck out in your business. You have a lot more capital to work with. And as I said, it changes the face of so many businesses. Think of what happened during COVID. Right? We had so many businesses go under. We know how hard it was. What we did at Galt, we had so many people that came to us and somewhat in desperation, and then we gave them a strategy and then taught them about business credit. And it's all about, you need a cushion when you run your business. All of us would agree. You need a cushion because there are going to be some tough times out there. Who knows, I hate to say it, who knows when the next COVID or something's going to happen and maybe business doors close for a bit. Isn't it nice to have that cushion? And is it also nice if you've got the right structures when you have that type of capital to be able to also scale and grow your business? Because each one of us as entrepreneurs, we didn't start our business to break even.
Right.
We didn't start our business, right? We didn't start our business to be that person that says, boy, I work 70 hours a week and I make pretty good money. Well, I could have just done that for somebody else, right? And I've got to pay for my own benefits and things. So it gets very important in this structure and the ability to have a cushion for safety and also to be able to, again, scale and grow businesses. So this kind of knocked me over the head when I met with the CEO. I said, I can't believe this is out there. I said, I just had never heard anything about it. As I said, I thought it was for the Walmarts of the world and the big places. So we like to say at Galt that it's Wall Street understands it, but Main Street has never got the memo. And we're about getting that memo to people, right, and getting them to that place where they understand this and they can build it and they can really change how they operate their businesses.
I think this is great for Medford because, Everett. For all these cities around here, Chelsea, Revere, because you have small businesses everywhere. It's all kinds of small businesses. Different, maybe a Brazilian store.
Lots of entrepreneurs come here from other countries. It's very common. Naturally, they tend to cater closely to their own demographic. Like my parents came here. My uncle was an insurance agent. He was a travel agent. He catered to our kind of organization. And to your point, that bootstrap mentality in my family was, you don't go in debt, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that a lot of that is that, the political background and how they grew up. And what I always tell people, I'm a financial professional in my real world, and I tell people leverage and liquidity. Those are your two best friends, and you have to establish them early. And when you're coming up and growing a business to scale, you need that leverage and liquidity up front. And to your point, and what I tell people is, keep in mind, it's just like a human. You're building an entity, and that entity is going to grow with you. And to your point, you need 9 to 12 months to build enough leverage to get liquidity. And sometimes in order to scale, you can't bootstrap.
Mm-hmm.
You're a professional. You were, if I try to start a gym, I'm not in good enough shape. I don't understand, how to teach a class. But I will say that, and I was thinking about this earlier, and I want to make sure to say it, is you kind of were an innovator in the space because during like my prime working out years, 19, going out, clubbing and all that, the trend turned to like Bally's Fitness, these big places that are cheap, low cost. They have a couple of frills, whatever you call the other one, the Planet One, whatever. And now we've come full circle. I don't know if it's still popular, but with the, what do you call these gyms? The new gyms that are hands-on.
CrossFit gyms.
CrossFit, yeah. So you were an innovator in the space. Right? That hands-on coaching really helped retention, I'm sure, of the individuals. So
very true, and everything you're speaking of prior to that business is so true. Leverage liquidity, the things that are important. In fitness, so what you said, right? So back in the day when I was running my fitness center, I was the antithesis of Planet Fitness or
Right.
Workout World. They were the $19, $10 club a month. I was, hey, you paid more money, you came in and you get real results, you were coached, you were held accountable. There was real mindset training. There was things that were going to give you legs to be successful. And you mentioned CrossFit. We were the first fitness center I know of countrywide that we had a separate entity that was CrossFit, that we had our own CrossFit box inside of where we had, as well as boot camps and other real personally service-driven type stuff in there with our nutrition and our coaching as well. So it was, like you're correct, we're a little bit ahead of the game there, and that set us apart, which was wonderful. And that leads me to, it's funny how we start rolling down this, where we go. So a beautiful thing about business credit, which again, people don't quite understand, true business credit is only tied to your EIN. Your social security number has nothing to do with it. It's not, they don't look at, when you build business credit, they do not look at what your personal credit score is. So it puts you in a totally different avenue as you start to grow. Also, if you're someone that, and again, I wish I realized this back then, as long as you have EINs, you can lend the business credit between the EINs. So thinking in my case, I just talked about there was CrossFit. So my my fitness center was called Forever Fit Health and Fitness. That's who we were. Now, inside of it, I had Forever CrossFit. I had Forever Boot Camp. So again, 2 other entities. If I knew what I knew now, I would have had EINs on all 3. I would have built business credit around all 3 of them, and I would have had a huge pool of business credit. And my career took me in different places, and I ended up doing more coaching, but I could have opened more boutiques. I could have done more, because it's a substantial amount of business credit you can build once this is done
And they're
correctly.
easy to carve out if you ever wanted to sell a piece.
Mhm.
And you talked about this in your business consulting, and you just brought up the example of scale and how you learn scale, right?
Mm-hmm.
Keeping one entity with multiple business models doesn't scale well if you have one succeed at a different pace at the other. So that's interesting. And again, for me, having been in mergers and acquisitions, it's always about figuring out how easy is it to slice something out.
Mhm.
How can you take a service and pull it out? We were talking earlier about Amazon, and I said if you peeled out Amazon's shipping business, they'd be competing with the top dogs. They might put them out of business. UPS, FedEx. So interesting. I love the thought of scale. I think about that all the time.
I'm fascinated by Amazon's layout. It's like, man, this is really smart. I mean, they really did it smartly, because I have the Prime and it ends tomorrow, and like, do I keep with Prime? I didn't use it before, but it gets addictive having the Prime thing.
Mhm.
And I'm like, maybe I really don't need this. I'm too busy, right? But the Amazon trucking, and I brought some new furniture, and it's like, boy, it shows up right away.
Convenience is king.
Huh?
Oh.
Yeah, but
Is it ever?
you know,
Is
I
it
got
ever?
what I needed, and I might bail.
People often go in and out of the services, which
Yeah.
I've done. I do pretty often. My wife hates it because she likes Amazon Prime. But I'm like, listen, I keep subscription services at X. We don't go over that ceiling.
We're guys. We
Very wise.
think like that. You know?
Yeah, no, very wise.
You know what's interesting about your fitness? You had 50 trainers. So I was at a gym for a long time up in Woburn, and it was interesting. I was thinking of going back because I need to, but he shortened the hours. But you go in and use a trainer, and oh my God, they would really beat into the ground. It's like, hey, let's say it was 59 times, 69 now, right? 59-year-old man, ease up on me because I'm really going to hurt tomorrow, and they don't. They have their formula, and it's like for 20-year-old people.
Right. Well, too often that's the case, and it shouldn't be. And things have changed a lot now over the years. That would have never flown with what I did. Again, it was all about
I didn't think
customizing
so.
everything to
Right.
everyone. It was you understanding. I mean, how could you possibly be successful when? Well, let me explain it this way. As a coach, and Darren, you've probably seen this before, you maybe as well. There's what we call a valley of despair. Okay, so you start out in the beginning, right? We'll talk fitness because it's easy, and we can come back to business. But in the beginning, you're very excited. Well, let's go to New Year's resolution again. Gosh, you're so excited. This is going to be your year. Everything's going to be different. So you're up top. When you look at this curve, you're up top here. You're very excited. You're learning more about it. You get in there. You start to do this. Maybe you get some coaching. Maybe you don't. Maybe you're on. You do it on your own. Joe, in your case, what you're saying is now there's even a trainer there. But now, if the trainer's going to give you a lousy experience, no good. So now you've hit the spot on the curve here where you're like, okay, I'm in this, I'm doing this. Now let's talk about someone, whether they're using a trainer or they're on their own. They get 2 or 3 weeks in, and all of a sudden, because they don't know how to do it or the trainers push them too hard, their body's pretty sore. They're not really enjoying it much. Maybe they've tried to change their diet all at once, because that's usually what people do all at once in January. They're like, boy, what I'm eating is like cardboard. My body's sore.
The happiness.
So they start going down this curve, and we call it the valley of despair. They get to the bottom here, and this happens with change no matter what, but in this case, they get here. Now you can go one of 2 ways. You can either hang in there, change what you're doing, get a little more help, whatever it is, and start coming out the other side, which is very exciting. You hit a data point we call number 5, and then you're golden. You built up enough momentum, and you're going to fly, whether it's in business, whether it's in fitness. But for the majority of people, they're going to get down here at 4. They're never going to see 5, and they're going to turn around and they're going to say, you know what, this maybe isn't for me. And then you'll see them again next year, starting over. This happens over and over. This valley of despair from change. And again, the same thing happens in business, because you start out and you're that entrepreneur. And what are we as entrepreneurs? We have this blank canvas in front of us, and we start painting in our mind, and we're like, hey, okay, so here's what my space is gonna look like, and then I'm gonna have employees, and my employees, I'm gonna pay them handsomely so they can take care of their families, right? That's what we start thinking. And then from there, we're like, okay, and then, we're gonna start to generate lots and lots of revenue. Our clients are going to be very successful working with us. They're going to be happy. They're going to spread the word everywhere. We're going to grow. From there, we do so much revenue. Again, it changes our lifestyle as human beings. We can do more for our family. We have more freedoms. We can also donate to our charities. We can do things that really move the needle in the community. That's why I love small business. Now, again, there's that change going on here. So in the beginning, if you're undercapitalized or you don't have enough structure, all the enthusiasm in the world is not going to carry you past when it gets hard. It's going to get hard down here, and you're not going to make it. And that's why so many businesses fail, right? Small businesses fail over and over because they don't get this right. They don't understand this piece of it. So you need better structure. If you can use business credit, because let me go here with this too. 3 ways to really fund yourself, unless you're fortunate enough in your business to get a government grant or something. There's 3 ways to fund yourself. You either bootstrap, you take investment money, I did both of those, or you eventually do business credit, which I didn't understand back then, but this is what you do. Now we know bootstrapping, it's your money, it's a lot of risk, that's dangerous. We know when you take investors, which I did, you have to give up some of the pie, right? They want some of the business, and they may want some say in it. They may want to tell you how you run the business. So those are 2 really big downsides when you go to business credit. Again, true business credit tied to its EIN, again, its own entity, as you said, it's like it's own person.
You separate the risk.
Separate the risk completely. Even in your business, if you have used your own personal credit to bootstrap for a while, once you build business credit, you just use that business credit to pay that off, free up your personal credit again, which is so helpful as you move forward. All of it again is on your EIN. So really big piece of this, in what people don't understand even when they start to see business credit, because I have a lot of people that come to me and say, I've been trying to do this for a year. I saw it on YouTube Academy. And I said, I know. So you got the blurbs of what you should try. And I'll say, what's your credit score now? Your business credit score? And they say, it's 30. I said, okay. Now, the difference between personal credit and your business credit is, first, it scores. We know we're going to score from 300 to 850 personally, right? And that's what our personal credit is. Anywhere that we go and we do workshops, the first thing I'll say, does anyone know their personal credit? And everyone raises their hand, like, oh, my FICO score is 670. Everyone knows. And I'll say, what's your business credit? And again, not their fault, because I didn't know back in the day. And a pin could drop. No one knows. Right? They don't understand. They say, I didn't know it existed. So that's a problem to start. But business credit, again, separate from personal credit, it scores from 0 to 100. That's it, 0 to 100. And you want to be at 85 tier 4 credit. Once you get there, that's when you can start using your EIN for everything. Right? You can personally sign. It's as if you were over 800 personally, and everyone wants to get your credit card. Everyone wants to work with you.
Yeah.
It's the same thing business credit wise, right? But we got to get you to that 80 plus tier 4. Again, not instant gratification. It takes 9 to 12 months to build the process to get there. But once you're there, it offers you, again, all these freedoms. Business credit will be at least 10 times the value of personal credit, sometimes 20 or 30 times. So there's a lot of money there. There's a lot of capital that you can get your fingertips on once you're there. Well, why not be able to finance all your vehicles in your business as you grow on your EIN at the lowest rates and the lowest terms? The best terms. I mean, that's what this is about. We can talk to this, but when I started a lot of my businesses, and they were LLCs, some of them were S Corps, my lawyer and my CFOs would tell me, hey, that's the greatest thing to do, because you've got the corporate protection, plus you've got you can take care of the tax issues with it so well. And I was very excited. But with my fitness center, which was a big outlay, right, to get it going, the first thing I did, right, I went to, on top of my own money that I bootstrapped and some investor money, I wanted a bank loan too, because I needed quite a bit of money. So I went to the bank, and they said, love your business plan, love your fitness pedigree. This is fantastic. We're more than happy to do this for you. You just have to personally guarantee it. And I said, well, I don't want to personally guarantee it. That's why
That's why you have,
incorporated.
right.
And they said, well, you don't have a track record with a business this big to be able to come in here. You're not showing any revenues yet. You're building, so you can't do that. I went to 5 different banks, got the same answer. Went back to the original bank because I had a relationship there, and I personally signed. I had a lot of fitness equipment in there, as you can imagine. I had 24,000 square feet of area, had a lot of fitness equipment around what we did. So pretty big. These days there's a lot bigger ones, but it was pretty big. And again, fitness equipment. I wanted to purchase that all on my EIN, right? I wanted to, same thing. Had to personally sign that. Jim, great, fitness background, you've been great in this industry. Yeah, just personally sign it, you can have it. It got so bad that Conica Minolta came through my door and I needed a large copier because we had class schedules and things. $8,000 copier, just $8,000. Had to personally sign it. I said, you kidding me? I can't put this on my EIN? No. And then you get to that point where you're just like, okay, I have to personally sign on everything, because that's what you think. And that's kind of what happens when you start. But what happens is, right, you've got that, we always like to say it's a corporate shield that you've done with your LLC or however you've incorporated. All of a sudden, it's more like a corporate veil because you're punching holes in it because you're personally guaranteeing things. So now, again, you're next on the line. So somehow, some way, COVID hits or your business doesn't make it, those creditors are coming after you. They're not coming after the business itself where the protection is. So there's so much power to doing this the right way. And again, there's not enough knowledge out there. That's why we spend so much time educating people across the country on how they should structure their businesses for long-term success. So it's wonderful always to get to talk to young entrepreneurs, because that explanation I was giving you guys about that canvas and the paint, right? We have all these great ideas. Well, what happens is the ideas are there and then they run out of paint because they don't have enough funding, they don't have the structure, so they only get part way through their painting and it's over. So very important, get this right, run your business in the manner that you should. Do not extend your neck here in any way, or if you have before, transition that over to business credit and really grow and scale your business, because you're gonna have so much at your fingertips. This will come back to business expenditures when you work with someone, when you're building their credit. So if someone has a lot of expenditures, it might be a restaurant that has a lot of expenditures. If I work with contractors, we work with anyone in the trades, they have a lot of expenses. We work with transportation companies, they have a lot. They will build a substantial amount of business credit in 9 to 12 months. It's not uncommon to see them build $300,000 to $700,000 in business credit that they have access to. If it's someone that doesn't have a lot of expenses, a lot of times I'll get online consultants and they'll say, hey, I want to build business credit. I'll say, super, but you don't have a lot of expenses, but still within 9 to 12 months, you'll probably be $75,000, $100,000, and it's all relative because they don't have a lot of expenditures, so that's a lot of money. Right?
You do so much business. What do you do for a good time?
Business, obviously.
Well, because we talked this, my background, so I'm a health guy, so I'm like that person that's up early in the morning getting my workouts in, and my wife is very healthy as well, and we're fortunate.
You go on trips?
We travel when we can. We like to, and actually this winter, I should maybe say we worked through the winter because I can work remotely, but we were down in Fripp Island, South Carolina this year, which was a wonderful experience for the winter. Just a spectacular beach, southernmost island in South Carolina, halfway between Charleston and I've lost the other city, Savannah, right in the middle.
What was the weather like there?
Fantastic. So
wow.
We were there from January through March, and the coldest day we had was 63 degrees.
Oh my God.
Not bad.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah, so we could, and my dog Lily, you know about Lily, we kept Lily. Lily loved the beach.
Yeah, of course.
It was a lot of fun. So yeah, when we can travel, we love to, but we also enjoy what we do. And my wife's a real estate agent for Sotheby's International Realty. She's done that forever too. So
Wow.
we always got our hands in something. We love to meet people and learn and help people. That's what we do.
And you helped a lot of people. The #1 health and fitness facility in Greater Newton, Watertown, from 06 to 15. You dominated an industry. You were ahead of the time. Took that, built a new business model as Galt Finance, and began consulting small businesses out of your office in Forestdale. Is that right?
So
Forestdale?
actually, that's where I live in Forestdale, or
Okay.
Sandwich Forestdale. It's a little borough of Sandwich. So but
Okay.
you're correct.
Oh, Sandwich. Okay, I see. And it's interesting, and I'm gonna just throw something out there. Based on your experience, you make a great leader of a product organization. You know, you had that in your next career cycle. You know, it seems like you got some cycles, 10-year cycles. I try to live that way also. You know, head of a product organization, thousands of people. You could do it.
I appreciate the endorsement.
Yeah, you could do that.
Thank you, Darren.
Well, let's get to the Small Business Expo. So how many of them do you think you attend in a year?
Oh, we will do, as an organization, we'll do at least 15 to 20, depends. You know, we're pretty busy, so we'll keep those going.
I do one, which
So
is why
you
you're here.
meet, right?
Huh?
That's how we ended up making contact with each other.
It's all I could budget the time for. I try not to travel because I just don't. I used to do the New York trips all the time and sometimes Philadelphia, and it's a different world for me at 69. And you can do things out of the house. Yeah, I got my clients and I use the computer and
So it's like in any business, what strategy is most effective for you? And we tend to, from the standpoint of marketing, we tend to feel like we want more lines in the water all the time. So yeah, we do lots of stuff online. We also do lots of stuff in person because no matter what, business is relationship.
Well-
And getting to meet people is always number one.
what we discussed on the phone, like back in the 80s, Jimmy Miller and he produced the Rolling Stones. We'd be at the record labels. So we'd be meeting all these A&R people who are now like in real estate and other things. They're all friends of mine on Facebook, right? But we would be going and pitching. So I'd be in Wendy Goldstein's office and she said, boy, we put out this Dirty Dancing record and our warehouse is empty. We weren't ready for it. They had no idea it was going to be a hit.
Right.
The other labels pressing it. We had this, we were always going to New York. And he produced the Rolling Stones, so our office was across the street from the Rolling Stones. We were in Burt Padell's office with Alice Cooper and Paul Butterfield, and that time doesn't exist anymore. Burt Padell passed away, so his whole enterprise of renting space to manage out of his office. He was the the accountant to the stars, big accounting firm. But that era is gone. This is a new era, and for me, it's the internet. And you use it too.
Quite effectively.
But there was something cool about leaving Boston, and just even for 2 nights, and being in another locale.
Right, always, and it keeps things fresh, and you get to meet a lot of different people and a lot of different personalities. I know it's interesting. You just brought this up when Joe and I were speaking on the phone. We spent more time talking about rock and roll music and stuff because it was my era too. As we started to talk about it, I thought how cool it was that he has had all these experiences the way he has.
Now the casino, was this the first time you saw the casino?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, what do you think?
Well, I wasn't in there, but I'm sure it's pretty impressive.
Very.
Lots of expansions planned for Wynn, so we're gonna have the Las Vegas Strip headed into Charlestown.
No kidding.
That's the vision. It's the entertainment district.
Wow.
So they own the lot across the street, which is today part of discussions, let's say, in council. And then they've just recently purchased 2/3 of the power plant. So it's funny because you look one way if you're leaving towards Charleston or Boston. Look one way and you're like, whoa, Vegas, you should drive up there. It's amazing. And then you look
I
to the
actually
left
will.
and you're like, apocalypse now with all these power plants. And that to think that's going to be mostly gone in the very near future is very interesting. So where are you from in Everett? Because we have to, there's, Everett is a world in and of itself. So.
Again, I was born here. I would
So,
say we were
okay.
there less than a year. And
Okay,
my
so
mother,
not much of a
soul
memory
is
of
not
your
there.
town.
I wish I could tell you I couldn't. No.
It's competitive. Everett's competitive, even within itself.
And it's a different world here. And the casino made it different. I always thought it should have been better at Suffolk Downs, but now they're making Suffolk Downs a whole new city, right?
Mm-hmm. Similar to a tiny Kendall, I guess, Kendall Square.
Interesting.
They're trying to get that, that level of commercial there.
Yeah, so where I said there's the new condos, there's also Suffolk Downs is now being reinvented.
I think Everett needed the casino. I'm happy they did get it. It was important
Interesting.
because that was Monsanto land. And so your margins have to be pretty large to clean that because they were shipping dirt out.
Right.
Shipping dirt out, mitigating, and we're going to have the Exxon plant. It's 95 acres, which has actively been for sale. Also has some polluted land, not as bad as Monsanto is. That's serious stuff.
They dredged the Mystic River, right?
I believe so. Yeah. I'll tell you, when they do stuff, boy, do they do it. And,
When?
Yeah. They know what they're doing. They really know what they're doing. Yeah. They're very good at what they do.
Yeah, I don't gamble, but it's still worth going in there.
It is.
They
I
let
don't
us do a
gamble.
TV show on them. We were in 2 days before they opened.
Wow.
There were 200 critics, and Paul, my director, he's in Wakefield, but Paul, Norman, and I spent 2 days there. He spent one, and we have a whole TV show on it. It was phenomenal. They were feeding us, and it was for $7.50 you could take the boat into Boston.
Really?
So you just go to the boat, and
It's free now.
Is it free?
Yeah,
kidding.
the one from the Encore. So always
Wow,
a good
it-
shout out. And someone will say that transportation is important to me, but yeah. So part of Win being here and part of the mitigation for transportation issues, it only runs on the weekends, I believe, but it is free and it runs periodically from Encore Boston the back. Like I said, if you drive back there, you will experience an out of world, and then they have shuttles that run between Market Basket and Encore and a couple
Oh, the
other
buses are
locations.
everywhere.
So you see what I call the black buses. They say Win on the side. I have kindly asked that they change it to say City of Everett on the side, because what they're doing is filling the gap that the MBTA can't address in an easy fashion. So that private public gets it moving quickly. That money, that leverage, I'll tell you, who has more than a casino, I'd give them a loan if they take one from me.
Yes, no doubt.
If you have the time, I think it's free parking, right?
It is free valet. Not only
Free
parking.
valet.
Trust
So
me,
you
I tell
go
every
over there and just take out,
Take up you guys have piqued my interest. I'll certainly go look.
Yeah, so there's a waterfront there, and it's hidden. You'd have to go back there, and the great part is it faces the harbor, so you don't really see across the street Apocalypse Now. You see across the way to Boston. You can't, it's not the best view, but it is, beautiful. And City of Everett has invested a lot in the waterfront also. So it's not just, we have the River Green area, which we're getting a boathouse, and there's docks. So it's really following that Charles River path, I hope, because I saw the improvements there. So yeah, it's a pretty drive. Yeah, they do things right. I gotta give it to them.
They took us up to the top floor to see the hotel rooms.
Mhm.
2-story hotel room with billiard and $3,000 a night.
Wow.
And the site, the profile of Boston is unbelievable. So it really is a stunning work.
Yeah, it certainly sounds it.
So that's the change in Everett. I mean, that is the big change, right?
It's in its infancy, if you think about it. It's hard to tell how large. So there's 160 acres undeveloped.
And they bought Mike Donuts.
Thank you. No, not Mike's Roast Beef.
Mike's Roast
Okay.
Beef.
You know
Mike's
what a
Donuts
freeway
Donuts.
is? You know what when it comes to food, it's very popular in the Everett and North Shore area to get a three-way. Do you know what a
I
three-way
don't.
is? Some North Shore trivia.
No,
It's
you got
a roast beef sandwich, which is very popular in the North Shore area, with cheese, barbecue sauce, and mayo. So it's a very
That's
standard
a
way.
three-way.
That's a three-way. It's not fitness friendly.
I had a feeling it wouldn't be just as I was listening.
Yeah, it's not, but it is.
They're still open for another year.
Yeah, thank goodness. I really hope that they offer them some space in the complex that they're building. So they're building 1,000-person auditorium space for comedy and concerts and some other things also. Also the overhead. We talked about Revere a little bit. You see the overheads down to the beach. So it's interesting walking paths happening within Everett and Revere.
Not so much.
Yeah,
Great.
we're losing Joe.
That's okay. Let's back on topic, back on to
So let's we'll go back to your part of this managing partnership within J. Galt Finance Suite. So how do people reach you? You've given out a lot of things to think about for business owners, but how do people go about engaging with you or your company?
Yeah.
And what's the best advice that you give Everett residents? You've given a lot, but what's one?
Well, let's go to the advice, and then we'll come back to how they could contact me. The best advice that I could give everyone in business here is, we were talking fitness in the beginning. You need to solidify your plan, because in the beginning, again, we're working off enthusiasm as entrepreneurs, right? And we think nothing's going to stop us. We just say, hey, gosh, I'm so good at what I do, and people are going to love it, and I'm just going to grow my business. You need a much better plan in the beginning, and you need to understand that. Again, talking to so many people, the majority of entrepreneurs out there are excellent fulfillers. Excellent. They can fulfill. They're really good at what they do, but they don't understand marketing. They don't understand sales. Two biggest drivers to make any business work. I've talked to more business owners that tell me just not fair. I'm so much better than they are at what I'm doing, this other business, and they make so much more money. I said, no, they can market and sell. And I said, until you can market and sell, it doesn't matter how great your fulfillment is, because you only have so many hours in a day, and you're never gonna be able to really grow your business. And again, you're gonna run into that rut that you're, again, like running on the treadmill or the hamster wheel, where it's just, there's not enough hours, you're making not enough money, and you're questioning yourself. You say, why am I here? And you look back, and we're a prideful bunch too. If you're not doing well, and you've extended yourself personally, half the time that's causing a lot of grief in your family. I've seen some terrible things happen because we don't want to give in. We're just like, no, I'm too embarrassed. I've made this commitment. This is what I'm doing. I'm going to stick with it till the end. And if you don't, again, have the right structure to be able to handle this and grow and scale, you're not going to make it. And it's tragic. That's one of the reasons Galt even exists, because our founder had some friends that went through a bad time in their businesses, and they were extended, and I don't want to go into the personal, what happened to them personally. There was some divorces, and there was some other things that were worse. And that was one of his driving factors here in starting this organization. And we're on this mission to rescue people. We rescue businesses because businesses aren't structured the right way. Get them structured the right way. Let them understand how to grow. We put in cash flow mapping systems with everyone we work with to ensure that they grow appropriately. We were working with someone actually out in Vegas recently. Well, let's say he came on with us about a year ago, an electrician. He said, again, I'm doing pretty good. He goes, I make pretty good money, but I work my tail off. I'm always working, and I'd like to grow. I'd like to get a couple more vans. I'd like to bring in other electricians. And we said, great, so what's keeping you from being able to do it? Well, mostly capital. I said, great, you have a lot of expenses. Let's work on building your business credit. So we came on with us, and we said, listen, as we do this, we're going to instill the cash flow mapping with you, with your bookkeeper, to ensure that you understand each month, really how much money do you really have cash flow wise to grow your business? Because again, people are doing things the wrong way. So anyway, we take him through it, and I think month 10, he was at about almost $300,000 he had access to in business capital. Right, good. He says,
A couple of trucks.
right. But he says, I'm going to get four vans, and I'm going to start bringing people on. I said, no, you're not. You're not. You're going to stick to your cash flow plan, right? Because again, we set everyone up with their own cash flow specialist as we take them through this and we build it. You got to, just like in fitness, we were talking about, hey, you could go in and pay $10 somewhere, and you could probably fail because you don't get coaching, or you could go to the right place and get the right coaching, and it's the same way in every business. So for us, we make sure there's a certified specialist that handles the credit with them, takes them through our 7-step process, again, 9 to 12 months to get there. And this gentleman's case, the electrician, we pulled back the reins because we said, okay, now again, you have all this business credit, you got to handle it responsibly if you really want to grow. So we do that. We'll also give people business valuations as well to make sure they know just what their business is worth, depending on where they are. Do they need an exit strategy? Is it a legacy business that they're handling? Whatever it is, we want to make sure they have all the pieces of the puzzle. So I long-winded there. You need a plan. That's my advice. You need a plan. Yeah. Don't let enthusiasm overrun you. I see so often people
Emotions.
Oh gosh, yeah,
Emotions in
hey,
business.
and then they'll pick a spot just because they're convenient. It's convenient to them. Like, I love this spot, and I'll overpay to lease in that spot just because it's there, and it's not the right spot, right? You're not going to be successful. Take the time, go through your studies, understand where you should be as you run your business, right? Pick the right places, right? Do those things. Understand your demographics. Don't make those mistakes that are going to just kill your business, because you can't come back from that. It's like if you're going to lease space and it's the wrong space and it's even too much money, but your heart's been set on it because you've been driving by it over and over, like, this is my space, right? And then you go in there and you're like, my gosh, the rent is it's killing me, right? Yeah. It's slowly draining me. So the foundational piece is so important. The financial piece of it's so important. As I mentioned, use business credit. Again, don't extend your neck, have much more of it so you can really grow, and manage your numbers the right way. Make sure, we always like to say this to people, aren't you tired of really wondering where your money went? Wouldn't you like to tell it where to go, right? Understand those pieces of it so you don't wait till the end of the year and you get your P&L and you say, oh gosh, look where all this money went. Well, the year went by, that should have been fixed as you were moving through this if you really want to grow your business.
We got 5 minutes left, and what I want to ask you is, with these small business expos, do you see different businesses in different regions of the country, or is there something similar, a pattern?
Well, that's another great question. There's always a pattern because we're human beings. Wherever we are, we're human beings, and we We have the emotional pieces that Darren was talking about, right, that drive us a lot of times, sometimes not to make the best decisions as we grow our businesses. So we see the same faults over and over, but I also see the same people successful over and over too in those places. It almost doesn't matter. You got to have the drive to get there, right? You got to have a drive as an entrepreneur. You got to have that drive or you won't make it. You got to be able to overcome obstacles, but you've also got to be willing to reach out to help, to get the help that you need, right? For people that can.
It's hard.
You're right. It's hard. It's hard for all of us, but you've got to be able to do that. You've got to sometimes put your ego aside. You got to say, listen, I need some real help here. And once you start to get things right and businesses becomes more systematic, then you're going to be successful. Too many people, again, working from the seat of their pants all the time. They'll say, oh, gosh, I had a great month. And then, for 2 months, I don't know what happened. Well, because there was no systems in place, right? Everything came at once, or maybe they were working off referral, and all of a sudden they got a handful of referrals, and they thought that was going to happen every month. Well, you can't predict referrals, right? That you look at that as your gravy. How are you running your business?
I'm sure you talk about recurring revenue pricing models is really fun and cash flow. And it's funny that we talked about leverage, and the death of leverage is over leverage, which this economy suffered from in 2007. Interesting. Thank you for sharing all this. Very
My pleasure. Thank you.
We cannot do calls for action, but what we can do is you can give out your website if you have it.
So easier probably. Is it okay for me to give my email and a number, because I just like to talk to people better than. Is that okay?
At the red.
Okay. So my email is jmorando, MORANDO, at jgalt, JGALT.io. And my personal cell, and I give this to everyone because I always like to share conversations and see if I can help, is 781-367-5802. And it'd be my pleasure to converse with you and see if I could provide you some guidance.
And we thank you for your time. You came all the way up from Sandwich, and great story.
Well, it was my pleasure. It was great to meet you both, and you have such great insight on so much here. It was, again, truly my pleasure. I enjoyed it.
We had to bring you back to Everett. We want to thank Akinyele Staples, as I call him, the greatest director here in New England. But Paul's pretty darn good too. Paul Norman is my director of visual radio in Wakefield. Shows copyright 2023, Darren and Joe. This is Everett today. And thank you to the mayor. Thank you to Everett City Hall for letting us be here. We do appreciate it.